This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Good morning and good evening.
Hey
So
Ram.
this is Ram. Hey, hi.
Yeah, hi Ram. Good morning.
So before we start, so I just want to introduce myself so that you'll get to know about me and you also can justify whether I'm able to train new people or not. Yeah. So this is Ram. So I started my career in IT and even in Salesforce in 2010. So it's been more than 12 years that I've been working in Salesforce. Did multiple certifications. I'll show that, like what kind of certifications that you have in Salesforce and all. So I'm a certified architect, leading a team of 30 plus members in I think around 8 different projects which are running under me parallel in my organization. And coming to the trainings, it's been more than 6 to 7 years, if I'm not wrong. I've started training around 2013 or 14, somewhere around that time. Trained people close to 2,600 people also in various aspects of Salesforce, in admin, development, towards the consultant roles, or towards, I would say, analytics roles, or towards Lightning Web Component roles, or advanced development, and even at the architecture level and all. Yeah. So this is all about me. And today we are here just to understand a very high level uh, about Salesforce. Like, for example, before we go to Salesforce, I'll speak something about cloud, like why cloud is important, why not the other infrastructure or on-premise basis based applications, and why cloud. And then we'll see in that why only Salesforce, or at least because as the session is about Salesforce, we'll speak more about Salesforce, and then of course the advantages of Salesforce, the course content, your opportunities, the growth of Salesforce from past this many from past, I think, more than it's been more than two decades that Salesforce has started. So I'll discuss about this. Yeah. Yep, these are the topics that I'm going to cover today. Okay. First one is about industrial evolution. So as everyone know, I'm not going to discuss much about the screen. So we are in fourth industrial evolution, where the devices responding back to our normal language, I would say, instead of. So for example, in third generation, if I want to say something to my system, or ask my system to perform something, I have to write tons and tons of logics, right? Was that it used to understand. But now, when we are in the fourth industrial revolution with this artificial intelligence, where I can ask my Alexa to switch on my lights, right? Or I can ask my Siri to call my mother, or even I can ask Alexa to turn off my TVs, everything, right? And you do have robotics, all these things. And why we are bringing more about it, because Salesforce is more working towards artificial intelligence as well in future. Yeah. Let's take this a very simple example. For example, let's say when I was in my engineering, somewhere around 2006 or so. So couple of my cousins, they were working in IT. So they used to take a hell lot of time to start their application itself. Forget about building their application. Okay, so okay, I don't want to speak anything about how they start or how they perform all these things. I want to know, what do you mean by an application? Anyone? What do you mean by a software application? Why do we need all this IT application? Can't we live without them? Or why this is precisely used by most of the people, more or less even every common man in the world is using this. Anyone? So if you ask me, Ram, what is an application, I would say two answers. One, as a consumer or a customer who is using that application, and the other one, a developer or an organization who built that application. As a consumer or as a customer, for me, an application is something which makes my life more easier. For example, I want to buy vegetables and all. So earlier, like when you people are kids, like you and your father, most of the people are going even now also. I'm not saying that we are not using it, but if you want to buy vegetables also or even a groceries, our parents used to take us with them on yeah, as it is Sunday weekends to a big markets or a close by markets in our area. So you used to go to each and every person, pick whatever the vegetables you want, and then come back home, happily cook it. So after coming home, it is good, but to get those vegetables, you have to spend lot and lot more of time, right? At least for me, we used to spend around 2 hours or so, at least, or just to go to market and bring those vegetables because the markets are a little far from my house earlier. But these days, if I want, I'll just open an application in my mobile on and I just choose whatever the veggies that I want in my cart, pay the bill. Within a day or two, all veggies will be delivered, right? Or there are applications where they'll deliver within 1 hour or 2 hours also. So instead of wasting a time of 2 hours or 3 hours, now it helped me to do to get all this at my home with more or less the same price, right? Or if you take it to a next level, for example, let's say I want to book a flight ticket, maybe 2 decades back, or even 1 decade back also. So you have to go to the airport, stand in a queue, get the ticket, and then come back home, right? But these days, again, more or less the same, right? So as a consumer or as a customer, these things make my life more easier, right? Because maybe you can relate to the airport tickets rather than going with the veggies in the market, because generally airports is located somewhere around 30-40 kilometers away from your town, right? So that needs more time, right? But those times are saved now, correct? Now when I go to an application or an organization who built this application or a developer who built this application, when I ask them, hey, what is this application or what is this make my trip all about, they'll say, Ram, this is an application which generates revenue to my organization. Why? The more number of people booking this tickets through this application, the more amount of brokerage fee I'll get, right? Or the more amount of revenue that will be generated, right? Now, okay, now we got to know what is an application or why we are using an application. Consider the same application to be built. Let's say let's figure out a use case now. So let's say we even now also, let's say there is no application which helps you to build to book a ticket online. So you have to go to airport or you have to go to the whatever the place that you want, like maybe a movie theater or even a bus stations or railway stations. You have seen people standing in a queue and spending hours and hours to get those tickets booked. So I found that, okay, this is, yes, people are facing difficulties. Now I thought like, okay, why can't I build something so that people will start using this system, using my system, they can book the tickets so that their time will be saved, and of course I'll be getting some revenue also. This is what is the idea that I had. Yes, but this idea is not sufficient, right? I have to build the application. How do I build? To build that, I need some infrastructure, right? So I need some servers because I can't share the application directly, right? Because I'm not speaking anything about cloud. Huh? Somewhere around before 2005 or 6. During those times, it's all in-house applications itself. If I want to build some application, I have to do this entire setup. Like I have to buy the servers, I have to install some softwares. Let's say if I want to write, if I chose C++ as my technology, then I have to install the relevant software in the system, check the user access, analytics has to be defined, security has to be defined so that no one hacks it because it connects to a payment gateway. All these things has to be considered, and at the end, I should make sure that this application should be responsive even on mobiles also when and where required, right? Just to complete this setup, or not even to build the application, just to complete this setup, it used to take around a year or at least 6 months to 1 year, because this is not that easy a job, right? Because the moment you order the hard this servers and all, it used to take through 2-3 months to get delivered, and then I have to do the setup, all these things. Let us say, okay, I have enough money, I did the entire setup, things are going well. But when I'm buying a server, I'll have two limitations, right? One is user capacity and the other one is data capacity. The amount of data that it can be saved comes under data capacity. To an extent, let's ignore data capacity for some time. The other one is user capacity, like how many number of users can access your system or your application, comes under user capacity. So let us say, as this is the first application that is there in the market, I thought, okay, maybe 200 people will be using it. I thought, okay, let me keep some buffer of 50 users, and I bought a server which can handle maybe 250 users. Then things went well, people started liking it one by one. I mean, I have seen a good growth. Maybe in 1 week, initially I started with 10 users. Now within 1 week, it reached 100 users. So it was really good because it is helping them to save their time, right? So slowly my business is getting increased. One day, more or less around 500 people wants to use my application, which is hosted in this server. What should I do? I can't simply ask my user saying that, no, no, man, this is what is my capacity. You don't come to my office or don't book any tickets through my system. I can't tell this because this is I'm getting the revenue, right? So what I have to do, you have to increase the capacity. There are multiple methods in the networking which will help you to increase the capacity, either by replacing or getting it serialized with some other servers, all these things. I'm least bothered about it because we are not going to do that. So somehow, let's say we have increased that capacity, people are happy to use it. So again, the number of users got increased. So again, even I have increased the capacity. So it goes on till maybe 5,000 or 10,000 users. Later on, there is one of my competitor who has built a similar application with much more advanced features. What will happen? The number of people who is using my application will slowly come down because my competitor's application has much more advantages, maybe a couple of offers, maybe rich UI, it is much more user friendly, all these things for various reasons. So what will happen? Performance wise, there won't be any issues because I already have a server which is able to handle 5,000 users. Even if the number of users got dropped down to 100 also, yes, this will go good. But issue is with the ROI, right? Return of investment. Because I have invested a lot expecting that more users are using it. But as the number of users got drastically down, I don't know what to do now. So what should I do? I have to chop off the servers, because the moment you speak about servers, you have to allocate a space, a big space, and maintenance, networking, cabling, etc., etc. All these things, everything kept on my head only. So I'll be slowly pushed into losses, right? To avoid this, we have a feature called, or a technology called cloud computing. Here, what happens? More or less the same thing, but it is like you will have a service provider where he will give you the details. Instead of you buying a server, you are asking some service provider who has their own servers, who will host your application in their servers with the number of users that you want. Advantage: you don't have to bother about the amount of space you want. Today I want 100 users. Yes, I'll go get 100 users. Tomorrow I thought like, okay, I have seen the market, it got raised to 500 users. You raise the number. Other day suddenly everything fallen down to 10 users. You put it down. What will happen? If you use this, then you are paying for what you are using to this service provider. That is the advantage. Now, Ram, a few minutes back, you were speaking about this one, right? So, a few minutes back, you were speaking about the server location, all the number of user capacity, all these things. Even the service provider also might face the same issues, correct? To an extent, yes. But the service providers that are using in the cloud computing are dynamic servers. You don't have to worry about it because we are paying them to manage all these things. And by the way, none of the servers that are under cloud computing will share your application directly. In the previous case, what if I'm not increasing the capacity of my server, even if the number of users are getting increased? So let's say Ram will hit a request to show me the list of flights that are available between Bangalore to Delhi. During that time, Rajesh will raise a request to get the details that are available from between Bangalore to Hyderabad. So if the number of requests got increased, server doesn't know to whom it should respond. There are cases where most of your other systems used to hang up, and there are cases where your application or your server might crash directly, right? To avoid this, when we are going with this in cloud computing, what will happen is these servers will automatically, based on the number of users, it will automatically create the number of instances in the cloud, which are nothing but images, and those images are shared across. Okay, Ram, how do we know? How do we define these things? We are paying for them. The same reason we are paying, right? We don't have to take care about it. It will be taken care by the service providers. In our case, it is Salesforce. Okay. And in cloud computing, we have three types of services: infrastructure, platform, software. So what does this do? So for example, the first one, on-premise application. So if you see, you have all the resource, all the things which are all the infrastructure is taken care by resource owner itself. But when it comes to infrastructure, the service provider will say, hey, you need server and networking along with the virtualization concepts, right? I'll give you that. But rest all you have to manage. I would say infrastructure is nothing as a service is nothing but a semi on-premise application where half of my resources I have to manage by me. This is where your AWS used to work more. Suppose that but here, if I want to define the application, right, they'll say you bring your own software. I really don't care what software you are using, or you bring your own middleware. I don't know what is the middleware about for integrations, all these things. But when it comes to platform as a service, where the first step of Salesforce will be there, which is nothing but force.com license. Here, say the service provider will say, hey, you want to build an application, right? I'll give you a base. You start building your application. Okay. So, which means You don't have to install anything. You come, log into my system, start building your application, provide access to your users. That security and all you define, like which user has to access what. Rest all will be taken care by us. This is what your Salesforce, Force.com license is. Next one is software as a service, which is nothing but the service provider will define or bring a software and provide it as a service through internet. So this is where your actual Salesforce license comes in. So what does it do? Here, along with the platform, because as we are going with the higher version, along with the platform, Salesforce gives you certain market standard applications like sales, service, etc., and say, hey, these are the applications which are defined at the market standard, and it will ask you to use it if it meets your purpose. Which means, for example, let us say uh, these days, I would say, okay, there for example, whenever any in automobile industry, let's say any new bike got released, or maybe a new car got released by Maruti or whatever the brand is, what they'll do is, at least from 3-4 months, very worst case, right, they'll start branding it or they'll start marketing it, right? Post that, let's say the marketing ad or that ad was seen by 1 lakh people, which means it doesn't mean that all those 1 lakh people will buy that car, right? Maybe 80,000 people are looking for a car, so they have seen that. And out of 80, let's say they might have got some 70,000 requests, or they might have come to visit the model, they have seen the things and all, maybe 70,000. And they'll go back and start comparing with that car with the other models that are already available in the market. And if they feel that okay, this is worthy in buying, then they'll start buying the cars. And it doesn't mean, again, as 70 people came for an inquiry, all 70 may not buy your car, right? It might reduce to 20k also, right? It depends, correct? Which means, let's say if this is the strategy that Maruti is following, it doesn't mean that the other people like Reynolds or whatever the other brands may not follow the same process. For example, if you take Rolls Royce, you won't see any single ad of Rolls Royce in any of the medias, right? But still, they are one of the topmost brands in automobile industry, right? So, which means every organization will have their own strategy when they are selling the product, right? Similarly, they will have their own strategies in going with the service processes as well, right? Now, what Salesforce says is, hey, I'm giving you a platform. Along with that, I'm giving you certain applications like sales, service, etc., etc., and it'll say these are the apps which are defined at the market standards. If you want to use them, you start using it. Now, one of the business says, or Maruti says, no, no, yeah, I'm not giving ads anymore because I'm having a dedicated customers. Will this application help me to go with the dedicated customers? Salesforce says, yes, you can. Like, you can tweak this application. Just give me a minute. It says that you can start tweaking this application to an extent wherever you can use the application, or you feel like, no, no, I don't want this application at all. I want certain features, but not this entire application. You can build your own application. Why? Because you are getting the platform, right? That is the biggest advantage of Salesforce over any of the cloud computing technologies. Okay. And these are a couple of applications. For example, your GoToMeeting also falls under your SAS. Yeah. Can someone tell me what is CRM? Hello.
Customer relation management, sir.
Okay. Is that an application or a technology or a program? Anyone? So basically, CRM is, yes, correct. It's customer relationship management, but it's not an application, neither a technology. It's just a process which will tell you how to interact with your business, or sorry, with your customers, so that you can increase your business. Or CRM helps the business people to have a healthy relation with their customers. Why should I have? For example, let us say uh, I booked a flight ticket in, let's say, ClearTrip. Okay, for some reason, I thought like, okay, I have to reschedule. ClearTrip says, okay, as you're rescheduling this, after the booking got confirmation, they said like, I'm gonna charge 60%. Thought like, why? Then initially they said like, okay, you can reschedule, but for some clause, by showing some clause, ClearTrip says that, okay, we are gonna charge 60% also. Then I'll talk to them for some time. Maybe I might get 5% discount on it. And somehow as anyways, I have to reschedule. I have rescheduled, things are sorted. But to provide this service, I have to get this extra 5%, which actually I'm supposed to get earlier. I have to spend around 6 hours or 7 hours in the call. Then, okay, they might have given me a service, right, service, but this created an irritation, right? Because the moment you call any of the customer case, you know, like how much time you have to wait in the line, right? Now, if I want to travel again, definitely I won't go for ClearTrip, right? Because plans might change. It's not like you will go with the same timetable all the time, correct? So now I'll say, okay, what is the other website that is available, which will provide a promising service instead of unnecessarily coming with nonsense, right? But if ClearTrip has provided me the same service right in the initial call itself, definitely next time I feel like, okay, let's go with the same. Even if one of my friends or my neighbors or my maybe my relatives wants to go, I'll say, hey, booking a ticket now, use ClearTrip. That is giving me a good, you are getting a good service over there, right? And similarly, when it comes to credit cards, most of the people are using Amex cards. Why Amex? Because the right service that they provide, right? It's all about the relation that you'll maintain with the customers, right? Now, Salesforce is strictly based on CRM, which is customer relationship management, and it has a 360-degree view on a customer, where it will help you to sell your product, to provide service, to do a marketing, to publish this, to define an e-commerce website like your Amazon, Swiggy, sorry, your Flipkart, etc., where you can sell your products. You can define your own custom applications, analytics. It's been used in multiple industries. They do have a lot many partners and success communities as well. And it widely supports integrations. For integrations, Salesforce uses a standard tool called MuleSoft, which was acquired by Salesforce around a year or 2 years back for $750 million. This is one of the powerful tools that is available in the market for integrations. Okay, now it is a Salesforce. Okay, then, so how Salesforce works? It follows multi-tenant architecture. What do you mean by multi-tenant architecture? So let's say, okay, let's go with the same example. It shows you that, okay, your flat in your apartment. Okay, when it comes to my apartment, I do have a pool, I do have a volleyball court and a tennis court. Now I thought, okay, one of my friend bought a house, okay, an individual house, not No, not an apartment. Okay. Now, when he bought an inventory house, let's say if his kids wants a swimming pool, either he has to take them to a closest swimming pool center close by, pay them and use it, or he has to build a pool on his own. He has to build a tennis court on his own, which will cost him huge amount, right? But when it comes to an apartment or a community, here what will have, more or less you'll get the same thing, but it will be a shared resource, because here you will pay a maintenance of some 5,000 or 6,000 per month, but you can utilize all these services, right? Earlier it was not. Now you can say, no, Ram, there will be a difference of land and all. I'm not speaking about those differences. I'm speaking about the maintenance, right? All these things is shared across here. That's one of the best advantage. And it also means that now as Ram bought a flat, it doesn't mean that he can go to his neighbor's flat and sleep whenever he want, or he can go and eat in his neighbor's flat. I have to be in my limits, right? So I bought this flat, so this is my dedicated space. I have to stay in this. Similarly, when you buy a license in Salesforce, you will have a dedicated space allocated, and Salesforce will make sure that you are not coming out of that space and utilizing someone else by imposing some limitations on your Salesforce org that you're buying. And those limitations are called as governor limits. Each and every feature that we are going to discuss in Salesforce in future will have its own limitations. Okay, those limitations are nothing but governor limits. We will discuss about it. Okay, now Ram, you spoke about this application, lot many things. Now, in which industries the Salesforce is being used? Salesforce is being used in almost all the industries, whether it is education or marketing or a banking sector, financial broking sector, or even oil and gas, even travel agencies. Like if you people are Indians, you can see Redbus is using Salesforce. British Petroleum is using Salesforce. Stanford University is using Salesforce. Citibank or Citigroup, like financial group, Prudential accounts, which are nothing but which are not for the LICs, they are using Salesforce. Most of these organizations are using Salesforce, and it doesn't mean that Salesforce is being used by biggest organizations. It's being used even by smallest organizations because of the license. It has a wide variety of license range, which starts from $2 per user per month to $10,000 per user per month. Based on your availability or based on your requirement, you can take the respective license, and even they'll suggest you like which license you have to go with. So as you have different products, definitely each and every product will have different, it will support different features. Okay. Now, after buying Salesforce, how do you build an application? It's simple. Once you get an idea, get the Salesforce ID, build the application, deploy it to the user. One of the beauty here is using a very small configurations, minor configurations. Salesforce will help you to define the applications, whether which will support the all the gadgets of the end user, whether it could be a mobile, tab, or even the laptop. It doesn't matter which tool you are using; it will by default support. But earlier, you have to define everything on your own, right? These are the advantages. Now, when it comes to security. Okay, so this is how the amount of time is saved. Okay, now Ram, as it is there in cloud, how about the security? Okay, so he is the person who is the CEO of Salesforce. So he came with a statement saying that when he started with a statement saying that the fourth industrial revolution starts with very important point, that is trust. So if the customer is not trusting me, He is not trusting me, saying that okay, Ram's application may breach my data, definitely he may not use. You know what? The security of Salesforce is built in such a way that till date there is no data breach. A very simple and best example. From past 4 or 5 years, if I'm not wrong, when you're trying to access your Gmail or your Facebook, any of your social networking websites from a new system than the regular one that you're using, it won't allow you to log in directly even if you give your right credentials, right? It'll send a verification code to the personal mobile number or an email ID with which you have registered. Once you validate them, then only it will allow you, correct? And it is there in Salesforce, I think somewhere around 2006 or 7, right? So people started using it from past 3-4 years, but it was there. It was implemented in Salesforce more than a decade back. So forget about this. So as I'm not able to access your system, forget about hacking the data instead of inside your system, because to get the data out of the system, I have to connect some tools, which will again needs a combination of your password plus a security token, which is a combination of 18 different characters, which will be again sent to your system when and where required, right? And it is dynamic. Unless until that security token is there, you cannot access the system. Okay? And hope all of you are using smart mobiles, right? Might be Android or might be what is it? Google phones, or it might which are Androids again, might be your Apples, right? Now, if you notice, I think Apple is the first brand who brought this big concept called App Store, where you will have an application that is uploaded over here and people start using it if they need it. For example, one of the best example is your WhatsApp. So talk to your people, or to talk to your parents or neighbors or your friends or relatives who are not close to you on a video call, you use WhatsApp, right? Most of the people are using it now, right? Now, let's say even if you are a super developer in mobile, to talk to your parents, you'll use WhatsApp only for a video call. Why? Why can't you build your own? Can't you build your own application? Yes, you can build, but you don't have to waste your time with something which is already built, right? That is the reason you'll go to App Store or you'll go to Play Store, install your WhatsApp, register with your number, call your parents. Simple, right? Now, after that, again, I'm not saying that Google has replicated it, but Google came with a concept called Play Store. Now, Ram, why that nonsense is coming now? Why do we need that? Yes, we need it because Salesforce has something called App Exchange with a similar concept. And I would say your App Store or Play Store are similar to your App Exchange. Why? Because the domain App Store itself is registered by this fellow first. As he is a good friend of Steve Jobs, he has gifted this idea and even the domain to Steve Jobs, and Apple came with the concept called App Store. The same concept is there even in Salesforce as well. He came up with a new word called App Exchange, where you can build your applications built by some other developers and you can start using it. Okay. So why WhatsApp? WhatsApp helps me to what do you call to socialize, right? But when it comes to business, what is the concept of going with social application? That is where you'll have business applications, maybe a project management, or maybe a Congo composer, which will help you to process your records and to create a PDF documents, or maybe tools like Survey Gizmo, which will help you to do a pulse survey with your about your organization with your customers, all these things, right? So there are many applications, and this also means that you don't have to get a job in Salesforce even if you build an application and get it reviewed, because unless until it is properly reviewed by your App Exchange team in Salesforce, right, they won't allow you to upload it in the App Exchange. So once it is reviewed in all the ways, like your how the UI performance is, what about the security, etc., etc., then once they allow you, if people started using it, depending on the charges that you have given, you will be getting the revenues as well, right? So there are a couple of organizations like Popcorn Apps, and there are some more other organizations who are having very less number of resources, but they work on these applications. They build these applications and they're happily running their organizations. There are smaller organizations where they have built only one application and they're happily running it, right, because of the number of people who are using it. And these are the financials that I have shown you here, and pretty much old. Definitely the numbers got close to doubled. Okay, then this is the economy. This is not that much important. I think this will give you a good picture. It started in 1999, and now again, this is again a little older slide which is given by Salesforce. But yeah, you don't see any spikes over here. It is all up, right? And when you come to this, which is very important, to 22, I think Salesforce is more than around it's now it is around $23 billion company also. Okay, and its target is to reach by $35 billion company by 24. How come, Ram, that much of drastic change? How it will go? Because at least if you ask me, I haven't seen the growth that Salesforce has been from past 1 or 2 years, not even 2-3 years. Okay, from past 1 or 2 years. And second thing, why do we need this sheet? See, most of the people, you may be freshers, you may not be freshers, but if you are freshers, it's okay. But if you are not, why you are switching to Salesforce from your existing career? I'm not degrading any technology, but generally when we look for a switch, a technology switch, whenever I feel that the technology that I'm working on got saturated in the market, or if there are no openings, or if I'm not getting a proper hike, I mean, even if I switch the organization, that is where I'll think, okay, what is the best technology that is available in the market? Second thing, how long I can survive in that technology. This is what your typical IT mentality is, right? So if the technology is itself is growing, definitely I'll have a good growth in the market, right? So that is the reason of showing this slide. Okay, and these are the certification tracks that are available in Salesforce. So as of now, we are going with admins and the developers, and these are multiple different certifications that are available: admin, advanced admin, PD1, PD2, commercial cloud, commerce cloud, platform, application architect, system architect, CPQ specialist, community cloud, sales cloud, Pardot, and even service cloud. So when you combine everything, you have around 25 different certifications of Salesforce. Okay, out of which I think I made 18. That's a different case. Yeah. So what are we gonna discuss in this sessions? So we'll speak about admins and developers, not the commerce cloud. Okay, that needs some original licenses. So we will go with a practice sessions. Like I'll show you how to get a free editions in Salesforce for the practice, and we'll see each and every concept that are needed to clear your certifications. I think you can even cover platform app builder as well. Okay, coming to the course content, so I'll be I have divided the entire course into two parts. One is admin and development. So admin is the place where you will build the applications through configuration changes, like by point and clicks. Okay, And at the same time, admin means in Salesforce, admin means is a person who can create the applications, who can automate the business. You can automate the relations between the applications, sorry, between the tables, and he can validate. He can, of course, secure the users as well. Right? Now, then Ram, why development? Because if an admin can do an application, I mean, building an application and automate the business process and he can validate, then why do I need a developer? So even if he can do anything and everything using an admin, not everything, I would say, there are some limitations regarding the user interface or regarding some requests, like some complex logics and all cannot be done in your admin. That is where I'll go with development. So for admin, you don't have to have any prerequisites. So people can come with an empty mind. Uh, uh, but when you're leaving, you will also get ready for the certification. But when it comes to development, you should have a minimum knowledge of Java. Like, what do you mean by a class? What do you mean by object? What do you mean by object-oriented programming, etc., etc. So that it will be easier for you to understand. And so we use Apex, which is similar to your Java at the backend, but the front end will use components, Lightning components. Okay, for Lightning components, you should know about JavaScript and basics of HTML, right? So those things, anyways, I'll tell you before we start the development, what to look all these things. If you spend around a day or two before we start the development, it will be easier. Okay. Uh, yeah, and coming to the duration, so we'll be having 40 sessions, out of which 20 for admin, 20 for development. As we are speaking about development, so I would like to bring this point as well. So what do you mean by development? Development, I'll start development only if I know that this cannot be done in admin, which means if or if and only if I got to know the pros and cons of my admin, then I can start the development, which also means that development, to start the development, your admin is mandatory. Unless until you're clear with your admin concepts, we don't have to go with the development. Here, that is one main reason we from Career IT will start looking into the administration first. Once it is done, then we'll go with the development. Then how about the market? So obviously, as a developer who knows everything, you'll have a little high priority when you come to admin, and that doesn't mean that admins won't have future. So there will be openings even for admins also because of the cost-effective solutions. Okay. Then what else? So we'll be giving you a certification voucher as well, which will give you a minimum of $40 discount on your actual voucher cost. So actual voucher cost comes around $200 plus GST, which is 236 if I'm not wrong, if you are in India. If not, it is just $200. And that I'll give you a voucher which will give you a discount to $40. Next, I'm not highlighting the certification questions, interview questions and all, because those will be taken care as a part of our sessions. Instead of having one separate session or two separate sessions only for these, we will cover it at each and every concept that I have covered yesterday. In today's concept, I'll start asking the real-time questions and ways of training. So you'll get trained in a way, instead of just going with an application or a feature definitions. What we will do is we will initially start with some basic application which is completely real time, and start building it with each and every concept that we are going to discuss, instead of just discussing the concepts and then at the end bringing you a document asking you to look into this document, build your own application on your own. Instead of that, we'll build it right from scratch from day one itself, so that by end of the day you will have the entire details in your hand. And the other one about the documentation and all, that will be given anyways. Okay, so That is all from my end. Any questions, anyone?
So, Ram, about this admin and developer, right? So, what will be the career growth on this? Which is the best admin? I'm an interested in non-coding side. So, if I go with admin, so will I get
Uh,
more opportunities?
yeah. See, let me go back. So if you want to be only admin, then you can even look for consultant roles also, because all the consultant roles needs prerequisite. Admin is the prerequisite. Okay, here also you won't see any. Uh, uh, 1 second. Okay, so here you don't see any coding for completing these certifications. You can go with that, or you can become a business analyst who's a person who knows both about admin and development. In development, you don't have to write the code, but at least if you are able to understand the process, right? Like, okay, what is the features that I'll be using for the solutions and all, then that will definitely help for a BAS as well. Okay, because there is a huge demand for Salesforce BAs rather than admins, I would say, in the market.
So, for developers, the basic Java is enough, right? Java.
Yeah, very basic. Like what do you mean by a class, or just an object-oriented programming? As I said, like if you spend just 1 day before we start the development, I think that is good enough to understand.
Hmm. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else? Hello. Okay then. Please share your feedback to the career ID. I think Lakshmi is taking care of this. And thanks for joining for the session, especially on your weekend time. I hope I might have wasted your time, but I hope I have given you at least 1% knowledge, like what is Salesforce, all these things about. Okay. So regarding the timings and all, Lakshmi will be in touch with you. Okay. So if you still have any questions, you can stay. I'll be there, or maybe for 5 more minutes. If not, you can drop off.
Is this course for a entry level person who want to start a career?
Hello. Hey, I'm really sorry. Someone has a question about entry level. I was speaking on mute actually. Yep. So for entry level, yes, this is good to go with Salesforce admins. And then, so once you are certified, right, you will be having the interviews as well. So I think, okay, I think one more thing that I forgot to inform is Career IT will help you to give you the opportunity. Even they are providing the job opportunities as well based on your performance, even if you're a fresher.
Okay, thanks.
I hope you're a fresher, right? Thinker.
Actually, I'm talking about my wife. She just want to start a career.
Okay, okay. Okay. Thanks everyone. Let's meet on the next session.